Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I am barefaced. I'm starting a series here on my channel called Expectation versus Reality because for just different topics, this is all my perspective based off of my personal experiences. So I thought it would be cute to do like almost like a therapy Thursday type of thing. This is just me coming to you as like a girlfriend. I am not a therapist, okay? I am not a relationship expert, nothing like that. But for me, I wish I knew some things before I like got married, before I had kids, just the expectation or what you think it's supposed to be like versus what the reality is. Of course, everybody's situation is different. Everybody thinks differently, but this is kind of what I guess my expectations are. And I feel like it's pretty common. So you might have the same expectations. This is just gonna kind of give you a heads up or wish that more people talked about or things that you wish you knew before. So today's topic, it's going to be on marriage. Okay, I am married. I've been married for 8 years, going on 9. Okay, I'm gonna do my makeup while I'm discussing these. I basically have 5 topics of what I think like the expectations of marriage are, and then I'll go into like details in each category. I am going to be doing my makeup, of course. The star of the show is going to be this Star Wars Pat McGrath palette. This is the palette that I'm going to be using on my eyes. It's called the golden one. Honestly, it looks really, just like your basic neutrals, but honey, these shimmers are literally everything. So I had to pick it up. So this is what we're going to be using on the eyes. That's pretty new. Everything else will be listed in the description box. And if you guys like more videos or you want to hear like my perspective on different topics of things that like you wish you knew before, definitely leave suggestions in the comments. I have a couple ideas already. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Like I said, this is my personal opinion. This is my personal experience. I have gone to therapy. I've done couples counseling. I've done individual counseling as well. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Let's get into first what the definition of marriage is. The marriage definition is the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. Basically, marriage is this piece of paper that says, this is my person, we are together, and what we have together is basically our stuff, This is what we have for our household. And people get married for different reasons, okay? The most common reason, of course, is getting married for love, okay? So a lot of expectation is that when you get married for love, and that love is enough. Basically, your love will prevail through everything, okay? That is definitely an unrealistic expectation, okay? So basically, you can have love for somebody and that's fine, but love does not conquer all. Love is the foundation of why you guys are together. But with that foundation, there's other building blocks that add to. For example, a lot of people get divorced due to financial struggles and other personal things. So love doesn't keep you together during those times. Also, you can love somebody, but love isn't going to pay bills. Love isn't going to help you guys, you know, stop arguing. I mean, it can help you guys come to a better resolution, but usually love isn't going to stop your needs from being met. You actually need like action behind just loving someone, which seems simple, right? I'm gonna speak for myself. I did come from a family with both parents in the household, right? But we always, well, I feel like as a child, I always just thought like when you're married, you're always going to be on the same page, even though that was not really shown in my household. I just was like, well, when I get married, I'm gonna have a husband and we're just always going to be on the same page. We're gonna do everything together, and pretty much that's it, right? But a lot of times you don't find someone that's been through the same things that you've been through, that feel the same exact way that you do. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own experiences. So you're never going to be on the same page 100% of the time. Y'all might have common interests and things like that, but the way you guys think is going to be different. And with those differences are gonna come arguments, okay, or disagreements. Basically, a disagreement is just not seeing eye to eye, and you know, it can be over different things. So you're going to have disagreements where you might want things to be one way and your partner feels another way, and vice versa. You might have an idea of something and they might have a different idea. Understand if you have arguments or disagreements, depending on the extent, okay? You never are just going to get married and just never have any arguments. It's not like the fairy tales that we grew up on, where, oh, the prince meets the girl and they live happily ever after. That's definitely not how marriage is. It might feel like that when you get married at first. You go through the honeymoon stage and it feels like y'all are just like in your bubble, just soaking in all the love and all the firsts of everything. But that is definitely a phase, and it doesn't have to go away completely, but it's not going to last to that extent forever. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's why it's called the honeymoon phase, which is basically like your first year of marriage. For me, I don't really think I had a honeymoon phase. For me personally, I've been with my husband for a very long time. And when we got married shortly before he left for basic. So about the first half of our marriage, we were not together. Basically, the military, you know, he joined the military. So during those 6 months, he was in basic training and was in schooling. So I didn't really get to see him, and it was very difficult for me because we went from seeing each other every day to not seeing each other for like 6 months, okay? But yeah, just because you do not agree with your partner and they may not agree with you, it doesn't mean that your marriage sucks and that y'all will have to get a divorce. Y'all just have to find some type of resolution, and that's easier said than done, because 9 times out of 10, like I said, being two different people, y'all see differently, y'all think differently. So it might be more of a challenge to get to that same page. So the next expectation that I had was marriage is 50-50, okay? Everyone wants equal parts, or you're thinking like, oh, if I do this, my husband is going to do that. And you basically are going to complement each other in a marriage. And like I said, that may be true for some, but that is not always everyone's case. So for me personally, I grew up with my mom handling majority of the responsibilities, and my dad basically just brought home the bacon. My mom also did have a job as well. So she was working and managing the household as well. And managing 3 girls, you know, is a lot. There were some things that I believed that, you know, we all have our gender roles of what we think our partner should provide. So for, you know, a lot of the time men, you know, do the work and yard work and take out the trash, and women cook and clean and take care of the babies, right? Well, to be honest, marriage is definitely not 50-50. And a lot of the times it's the women that do more in the relationship than the man, okay? A woman can have a full-time job. She can take care of the kids, be pregnant and work, take care of the kids, cook, clean, and you know that's supposed to be expected of her. Well, that's pretty much 80% of the work, right? She's managing 80% of the household, and her husband is working, taking the trash out, and doing yard work if there's a yard, and you know, being a father. Maybe I'm biased, but I feel like mothers always do more just because our babies grew inside of us and we are the main caretakers for their well-being. And growing up with a mother that did majority of the work, I naturally have learned that behavior. So I am constantly just like being attentive and just being available emotionally and physically for my child at all times. Once kids are involved, it's a lot harder to do things 50-50. Just take that into consideration, that nothing is going to be 50-50. There might be some things that, you know, you are better at than your partner, and vice versa. Maybe you're not a really good cook, so your spouse cooks. And maybe you enjoy doing yard work, so you do the yard work. But I feel like there's always one person doing more and one person doing less, and then that changes, which is perfectly fine and normal, okay? There are going to be some days where you can't put in that 50%. And some days there's going to be where you put in, you know, up to 100%. And same with your partner. They may not always, you know, feel their best to be putting in all the work emotionally and physically. A lot of people don't talk about that, but you definitely need to check in with your partner and make sure that, you know, their needs are being met, your needs are being met, and it's not always going to be, you know, 50-50, because life happens, life gets in the way, especially after you have kids. It's a little bit harder to like do date night and things like that. Just to know, if you do get married, that there's a chance that, well, there's not a chance, but that there will be times that, you know, you might be doing more than your partner and vice versa. And, you know, that's how it is, okay? That's not always a reason to get divorced and things like that. Now, when you have expressed multiple times, you know, like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z from you, and they're not trying to do anything, like they're not pulling their part, like that's a different story, okay? Everybody has their own deal breakers. So yeah. The next, I guess, like unrealistic expectation that I had is that you and your husband or partner, whatever, when you get married, you guys will just be able to work through anything, okay? You'll be able to work through anything because you guys love each other and y'all are now in this union that everything will just be all right because y'all are married now, okay? That is definitely something that I struggled with personally. Just thinking like, oh, I won't really need to do anything because once we're married, everything is great and we're basically stuck together and everything will be perfect, right? Yeah, no. I hate to tell you, sis. No, that's not how it works. That's not the reality. When you date and all of that, you establish trust and things like that, right? So basically, when you're married, ooh, that's pretty. Y'all see that shimmer? Ooh, so pretty. And I did not wet this brush. This is just the shimmer. You want to make sure that you are continuing to trust and check in and, you know, being able to speak your mind about different things that, you know, you're feeling, okay? But first you have to be able to create that space where your partner feels safe, where you feel safe to just be open and honest. And a lot of the time it might be difficult. And sometimes it's just difficult for people to open up in general because of past traumas, triggers, and all of that. So you need to make sure, you know, you're reassuring your partner that you guys feel comfortable going to each other, even with like the hard stuff. Like in a marriage, I believe like nothing is off limits. You should be able to have conversations about anything. I don't really believe in secrets, and we'll get into that. So for me, you need to create that safe space first so that you and your partner can be completely transparent without any judgment and to actually listen to your partner. So, to be transparent is very hard because you have to listen to your partner without judging, and you have to be able to understand or try to understand where they are coming from, which is not always easy. But in order for your marriage to continue to thrive, you need to make sure that you are giving your spouse that opportunity, because if not, there will be lies, there will be secrecy, they'll go to other people if they feel like they can't lean on you. So you just want to make sure that you're always keeping an honest and open line of communication. Ooh, that's really pretty. Ways you can do that, create open lines of communication, is basically, you know, reserve time for you and your spouse to have some time where you talk, just the two of you guys, check in, make sure their needs are being met, asking them how their day was, just really caring, asking them about what their goals are. You know, as you get older, things definitely change. It's never going to be a one-time thing that you have to do this. You have to do this multiple times within your marriage. It's not going to be like, oh, you have one conversation and that's it. No. Being married is a constant, I wouldn't say battle because it doesn't have to be a battle, but it's something that you definitely have to be that you have to take into consideration, because you're not just doing things for yourself anymore. It's now you and your partner. And I pretty much used every shade except for this gold right here. So creating a safe space seems like it's, you know, a lot easier said than done, okay? I feel like that's everything with marriage. Marriage is work, okay? You have to work every day and remember your foundation, why you got married, because you love each other. But love, you know, doesn't solve all the problems. Once you've created that safe space and environment and you're being transparent, things are going to like flow naturally. But another unrealistic expectation that I had was that y'all will just get along, okay? Similar to like the marriage being 50-50 and that love is enough, where you're not going to have any arguments. You're definitely going to have arguments, you're going to have disagreements and things like that. But as far as like getting along, there are going to be times when you look at your partner and you're in a disagreement and you may not like them, okay? You really might dislike their actions at the moment, because of course, you know, you love your partner deep down inside, but not necessarily how how they're behaving, how they're speaking to you, and things like that. Conflict resolution might be a little bit more difficult. For me, I had to learn in therapy, like, what exactly the problem is, you know, understanding how whatever, you know, it was made you feel, and coming up with a solution on how you guys can move forward, or what it is that you're wanting to change, you know, all of that. So everyone's not going to get along, and with that comes setting boundaries and ultimately prioritizing, okay? So for me, well, we'll just use an example. Say that, you know, you and your husband are married and everything has been good, all the families get along and things like that. But there are going to be times when, you know, they don't get along, and that's okay. People say and feel different things, and, you know, you grew up one way and they grew up another. So everything might not be as smooth as you think or as you want it to go. They might have opinions on what you should do and things like that. And a lot of that comes from having people in your business, okay? Definitely, I had to learn this one the hard way. Not everyone needs to know what goes on in your household. Some things you just keep to yourself, and you just have to, you know, stay a united front. For me and my husband, family is very important. So, of course, in a utopia, we want everyone to get along with everybody and to have like this indestructible family where we always have each other's back and there's never any issues, which is, like I said, unrealistic. But if it was that way, you know, we would be ecstatic and we wouldn't have any problems, because sometimes your disagreements and arguments can stem from family, and a lot of the time it's because you haven't established boundaries. You definitely have to create boundaries, whether that's just, you know, letting, you know, your aunt or mom or whoever know, like, hey, respect my household, respect my partner. Things that you would think are common sense and that just people shouldn't do, okay? People do it, okay? Creating boundaries is probably the hardest thing you will ever do, because you pretty much grew up with the respect your elders type of, you know, spiel, but you know, sometimes people need to mind their business, okay? People need to mind their business, and you know, if you want to protect your household, you definitely need to establish boundaries and, you know, essentially put people in their place. But of course, try to do it respectfully, okay? That's always the number one goal, especially if you don't want any problems or animosity. Sometimes you're not going to be able to always, you know, do it the best way, but, you know, definitely try to do that. And some people find it very hard, like, to tell, especially parents, like, hey, I would appreciate if, you know, you refrain from talking about X, Y, and Z and things like that. But, you know, like I said, priorities and just like not having people in your business, because everybody has an opinion. Everybody thinks they can help you better, but honestly, you know what works in your household, and not everyone, you know, not everything that works for one person may work for you. So you have to take that into consideration. And a lot of the times dealing with like parents and in-laws, they're older and, you know, they believe what worked for them is going to help you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's trial and error for you and your partner to figure out. The priority should always be your spouse. There should never be anything that comes in between you guys, because at the end of the day, that is the person who you see every day. That is the person that you go to sleep with, wake up the next day. So you definitely need to make sure that you guys are good. You don't necessarily have to pick a side, but just understand that, you know, you need to put yourself and your household first. That doesn't mean you love your spouse more than your parent, your auntie, or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna add this Primadonna blush. I'm so excited to use this color. But you have to make sure that you are reassuring everyone and just letting them, you gotta lead with love, talk with love, let everyone know like, hey, I totally respect you, but I also, you know, don't think that whatever, you know, said action is helping or being conducive to your relationship, and that, you know, they just tone it down, or, you know, refrain from talking about certain things, or maybe they don't know that, you know, something is sensitive to your partner or to you. So just, you know, make sure that you have those talks. And honestly, having those type of talks can be very difficult because some parents are just not receptive, and it's their way or the highway. And if you don't listen, like, you just don't want, you know, things to work. So yeah, I understand there's different family dynamics and everything that goes in with that. Sometimes it's easier for you to go to, you know, said family member or friend than your spouse, because, you know, maybe you'll be able to kind of mediate the situation, because sometimes when the two parties that are like in disagreement, sometimes whenever they are coming together, it can go left. So sometimes you need that third party to kind of just like help make sure everything stays on track and that everyone is feeling heard and validated. But sometimes there are going to be situations where, you know, you might have to cut out a family member, you might have to stop engaging with certain people, certain friends, because, you know, they are causing like detriment to your household. So everyone's not going to get along. Your friends may not like your husband or your wife, because you got to understand, If you're going to them to vent, they're already forming a biased opinion. And 9 times out of 10, they're gonna pick your side automatically. So definitely try to keep like couple friends around or go to therapy. I find that with having friends that are couples, they can relate and they'll be more honest with you about like who's wrong. And it's not really about being wrong, it's about understanding what the issue is and helping you be able to move forward. Ooh, that is a bright under eye. And the last kind of unrealistic expectation is that you and your partner are one, okay? Like y'all are a joint at the hip. Y'all are basically a union, which you are, but also don't forget that you are your own person, okay? Don't stop doing things that make you happy. It is okay to have some individuality. It's okay to do things without your partner, and they don't have to go everywhere and do everything with you, okay? It is okay to have some me time. So for me, that was like one of the hardest things, just because me and my husband have been glued at the hip. We usually do almost everything, like work out together. We do, or we used to do, okay? We used to do a lot of things together, and if one person didn't want to do it or go, then we just wouldn't, then nobody would go or do anything. So, and that is not the way to be. You had a life before your partner, and just because you are married doesn't mean that you should stop doing the things that you enjoy to do. Now, I'm not saying to go out and go to the club and be out all hours of the night without checking in with your partner and things like that. They can go out, they can have a good time, but you guys need to establish like, I'll be home at this time and X, Y, and Z. That way it's still respectful, and you know, no one is feeling restricted in the relationship. Because when you feel restricted, you know, things do not go well, okay? And people are gonna do what they want to do. So you could tell your spouse, I don't want you going to the club, but if that's something they really want to do and you're not understanding that this is what they feel to do to feel like an individual, then yeah, it's not gonna work out, and they're most likely going to rebel, and it's just not gonna be a good look. So you definitely want to make sure that you don't lose yourself in your relationship, because then you forget what life was like before marriage, before kids. I understand it's easy to get consumed in your role as a wife, your role as a husband, your role as a mother and a father, all of that jazz, but there is more to you than just your job title. And you need to make sure that you are always practicing like self-care. Don't lose yourself. Try to just do things that make you happy. Don't forget to treat yourself. You know, if you were getting massages or facials before, you know, if you're able to, you know, continue that or budget for that, definitely try to make room for that, because honestly, you and your partner are going to be miserable if you feel like y'all are just conjoined at the hip and there's no space for you to be an individual. Now, with all of those things come boundaries, and to what degree, like I said, but it's okay to live and to be apart sometimes. You don't have to be with your partner, you know, all day, every waking moment, okay? You work, you go to school, whatever it is, you know, do something that fulfills you. Get a hobby, okay? Find something, do something that, you know, makes you feel good. And you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder, okay? For me, that does reign true. Like I said, I had to learn early on, because my husband was in the military, that we cannot be up each other's butt 24/7, and that he's just not going to always be there for every moment that I need or would like for him to do because of his job, okay? He has no control over that, which is very different for people that just choose not to be there. That's a whole different story. I'm gonna pop this lighter shade. Ooh, she bright. I'm using the Artist Couture pressed powder in Creme Brulee just to do that inner corner pop. And it's super pretty. So the face is complete. It's giving very flirty and girly, okay? The eyeshadow looks so stunning. I'm not sure on camera how beautiful it's coming off, but in person, it's giving a soft glam with a twist, okay? Very similar to my Be Perfect look, but just like a softer version, if you will. Not as many colors were used. So you know, if that look was too much, this look is definitely a beautiful alternative. But let's go ahead and recap the 5 points that I thought people should know when you're considering marriage, the expectation versus the reality. Okay, first is that love is going to be enough. Love is not enough. It is a good stepping stone, but definitely all the work comes from the actions, the day-to-day work that you do. Love is just the foundation, okay? But you still have those building blocks to, you know, build your house and complete it. After that is marriage is 50-50. So you would think you bring 50% and your spouse brings, or your partner brings, the other 50. It's never like that, and your spouse is not there to complete you either. Nothing is 50-50, okay? There's always going to be one person doing more than the other, but as long as you guys are working harmoniously, it does switch. You know, some days you might be at a 30 and your partner will be able to do this the 70, but not all the time it's 50-50. You know, it might be, maybe you guys don't even get to 100%. It might be more 80, 40-40. So yeah, that looks different for everyone, but just know that nothing is going to be equal all the time. Next is that you guys are going to be able to work through anything. And with that, working through anything, it depends on the person. Everybody has different deal breakers and things like that, and that's okay. But also being able to work through things, you need to have transparency, and you also need to create that safe space for both of you guys to feel comfortable, so that there are no secrets, no lies, no anything like that, that you guys can just be completely honest and express how you truly feel. Because honestly, that's probably the hardest thing, is being able to communicate and express things without feeling judged, and not worrying about if they're gonna get an attitude, or, you know, maybe be condescending to you. I don't know. But definitely you don't want to have any negative effects. So to do that and to be able to work through things objectively, you need to be transparent. You need to be creating that safe space so that you guys aren't just like attacking each other, and you can actually attack the problem that's causing the issue. The next one is that everyone is going to get along, okay? Not everyone is going to get along. That also comes with having people in your business. Don't be running to mama. She's going to have her own opinion of what she thinks is happening and could be feeding you things that may not actually be happening, and vice versa. And it's not only that, just people want to tell you how to be better at something. Be mindful of who you're venting to, letting it know that it's okay to create healthy boundaries so that everyone knows their place, so that everyone is respectful. That way, you know, at some point everyone can get along, but there are going to be times where, you know, not everyone gets along, but creating those boundaries will definitely help. And the last one is you are one, okay? You are definitely a union together, but that doesn't mean that you guys have to do everything all the time, forever and ever, okay? You can go to the grocery store without your partner. You can go to the park without them, go on your own personal run, whatever it is. You need to have some type of individuality so that you don't lose yourself. So I hope that this expectation versus reality was helpful for you guys. If you guys want me to elaborate on anything that I talked about, let me know in the comments. If you guys enjoy, okay, this content, let me know. I want to do more things like this. I feel like the things that I've learned can really help people, and I would want to know some of these things, okay? I wish I would have known these things so that I can further like ask, like in the dating phase, like what are deal breakers? How do you resolve conflict? What's the situation if me and your mom don't get along? Like there's so many different things. And along this journey, I have learned a lot. I have done lots of therapy, lots of counseling, and a lot of couples counseling, which is okay. So this was just kind of, I guess, like a little insight of what it's actually like to be married. Being married is not that fairy tale happy ending. There's definitely a lot of work that goes in along the way, but yes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.